Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes report for the past 24 hours. A lot of frontline changes, and so we have frontline changes over at the northern flank of the Kursk front. More corrections, more updates, and now the lines is getting cleaner and cleaner, and a lot of things I have said has come true. And there's frontline changes over in Lipsy, Kolesnikivka over in the Pishchane front, Pishchane itself, Novoselivka, Stemakivka, Kalinina over at the Bakhmut front, at the New-York region as well. There is some updates, and Mikhailivka over in the Pokrovsk sector, and Dolanivka and Lisivka. So a lot of frontline changes. We're gonna go to the Kursk region first. In the Kursk region, based on the latest Russian mapping, they have conceded the entire Malaya Lognia region and all the way up to Olovka. They say that the Ukrainian forces have taken all these regions here purely based on the fact that there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this region, which is already mapped as under Ukrainian control on DPA's mapping. So there is no reality change per se on the DPA's version of the reality on what is happening in the northern flank of the Kursk front. However, this triggers the Russian mapping to just give up the entire region here. So okay, but although the front line didn't really change per se, due to the geolocation, but they feel like with this geolocation means that Malaya Lognia is gone. So it is what it is, up to them. Usually Malaya Lognia was reported, by the Russian Defense Ministry to be fighting. In fact, only the day before they were reporting the fighting. So yeah, I got a feeling that they will retract this eventually, because fighting is still at Malaya Lognia. So I'm not sure what's the point about this. But as such, in the Russian mapping, they have now shown that this entire region here is largely just gray zones and Russian captures, and the fact that there is no reports of any fighting of any kind in this region. So it's based on a combination of the Russian mapping and DPA's assessment that this entire area has been fully retaken back by the Russians. The entire northern flank in this area here has been retaken. So this entire area is now under Russian claim. This is not a capture yet, because the Ukrainian mapping still lists this as Ukrainian of gray zone, Ukrainian gray zone. So this is just going to be affecting the Russian mapping alone. So if you zoom out a bit in terms of the northern flank, we can see that the Russians actually have gained all these grounds in the north by claim. This is by claim. And then the Ukrainians have taken everything south of Pogrebki, which is by capture. So, and then the geolocation of Ukrainian forces along the highway, which, like I mentioned, did not really change the DPA's mapping. So this basically is the frontline changes over in the northern flank of the Kursk front. Strategically speaking, nothing changed, even though we are seeing a lot of frontline changes, like hugely. But the fact that there is no more fighting in the north in this area here, I have already mentioned this long time ago, and the fighting is largely over in the Malaya Lognia region. And even if the Russian mapping just disclaimed this area, we still have to wait for the Russian Defense Ministry report, which I haven't mapped it in yet, to see whether they're still fighting at Malaya Lognia or not. So anyway, we will continue to monitor as usual. And the next frontline change after this area is at Lipsy. Over in the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, the Ukrainians launched a counterattack or an offensive from in the northern part of northeastern part of Lipsy. This attack was actually promoted. They have like a nice video, like a trailer, not trailer, like a movie, 3-minute movie of them attacking this forest. They launched major attacks with shelling, and then mechanized attack, landing troops, firing into the forest, in the trees, where I don't even think they can see the enemy, and then they drop a lot of grenades into all the holes. So whatever it is, it seems to be successful, and this geolocation in concurrent with the Ukrainian mapping has shown that the Ukrainians have captured grounds in this area here. So it's not the entire forest that they have captured yet, but the entire, at least the southern facing of the forest part, is now taken by the Ukrainian forces. So Ukrainians are counter-attacking in the Kharkiv front. Interesting. So it's getting happier. The front is getting happier. So then after the next front line change is over in the Pishchane front. So over the Pishchane front, there is a few front line changes. Over in the west of Pishchane, Russian forces have been located along the tree line, confirming some expansion of control northwest of Pishchane. And based on Ukrainian mapping, they have also expanded control over on the east of Kolesnivkivka and towards Krylyakivka as well. So I think I need to zoom in because it's not so clear. So let's zoom in this area here. You can see that the entire tree line here is now under Russian control. They have captured all these areas here. And the Ukrainian mapping have claimed that the Russians took this forest. So so with this, most likely the Russians have also taken this entire area, most likely. But we have no mapping change to confirm this. But tentatively, this is most likely the case. South of this position, towards Krylyakivka, which is over here, the Russians have expanded their control along this valley or gully region, which is expected. So, but that's about it. Generally, the Russians didn't seem to be expanding further southward, not yet. And this expansion is generally very disturbing, I would say, for the Ukrainians, because the Russians are still marching towards Kolesnivkivka as well as Krylyakivka, where the major crossing is over here, very important crossing. So the next frontline change is over at the Novoluhanske region. The Ukrainian mapping have considered that this entire salient doesn't exist. The Russian forces have basically retaken this Novoluhanske region, so lining up the front line pretty much the same as the Russian mapping. Obviously, this area can't possibly have Ukrainian forces. They just delayed it for nothing. I don't believe there's a Ukrainian forces at that in those positions at all over the past 1 week or 2 weeks. So this is just a very belated frontline change. Over in the Stemakivka, southeast of Stemakivka, actually nearer to Mezuzarivka, Russian forces have actually captured the tree line in the northeast of Mezuzarivka. And this means that they are now in the attack distance towards Mezuzarivka, which is basically like a few buildings big. Yeah, it's just like a few buildings big. I don't even know where's the building actually. So yeah, it is what it is. So that's it from this area here. The next frontline change, we are jumping to Bakhmut front. So over in the Bakhmut front, and there is some major frontline changes from the Ukrainian mapping side. So on the Russian forces have expanded control all the way to the eastern coast or eastern shore of the canal. I'm not even sure if you can call it a shore of a canal, but the entire eastern part of Kalinina is now almost entirely under Russian control. The Russians have expanded the control in this direction, which is interesting. I believe that this could be a good covering force and covering position if the Russians decided to push northward. Anyway, not going to do too much analysis here, but this is the frontline change around here. You can see the terrain here is getting very complicated, very crumpled in this region. You can't really see it on the map, on this relief mapping. Yeah, but you can see very, very complicated terrain here. So let's see how this goes. After Kalinina, I'm moving away. I just want to highlight Ryba actually acknowledged that the Russian forces indeed was geolocated here. So yeah, this is something interesting. The next frontline change is over in New-York. So we haven't have any updates on the New York front, and finally we have some update coming from the Ukrainian side. This time around, they claim that they have resecured Nelipivka, and the Ukrainians have somewhat retaken a lot of this northern part of New York. Very, very surprisingly. So this is a Ukrainian claim, tentatively. But then in the Ukrainian mapping, they also claim that the Russians have expanded control on the flanks of New York. So the entire east and west of New York is now fully under Russian control, whereas the northern part, the Ukrainians have retaken positions. Very weird. So and they are still claiming that they have control of this industrial building. So let's wait and see. Maybe the Ukrainians are correct reality that they are portraying, because ultimately we do have a lack of confirmation of the Russians taking this industrial building, and of course any kind of flag raising within Nelipivka. So which means that the hypothesis that the Russians have taken Nelipivka is now out of the window tentatively. Then that also of course put into question how the hell fighting reached Leonidivka and Shkipinivka. Did it ever reach there is anyone's guess right now. So the reality is getting more and more bizarre. I think it's all Doctor Strange fault, because he messed up because he tried to help Spider-Man. So whatever it is, yeah. So this is the situation. So this is the update. So just in case it wasn't clear enough. So this is the front line right now, according to the Ukrainians. So let's see how this goes. The next frontline change will move all the way to the Pokrovsk front. So there's updates coming in the south. So apparently the Russians are not pushing towards Pokrovsk. They're pushing southward. So in the Mikhailivka region, there is geolocation of Russian forces over in the southwest, in this, unsure what kind of buildings, these abandoned buildings. So in this geolocation, which means that the Russian forces have actually secured the southwestern part of Mikhailivka. So small changes. We still have no confirmation of Russian forces inside Selidove yet. So we just have to continue to monitor. The reports is generally the Russians are attacking towards Selidove. And over south of this position is this Ukraine's Dolinivka region. And the Ukrainian mapping have mapped something pretty rather interesting. The Russians basically captured half of Lysivka. I'm not sure how they go by half, because they join along the roads. Then somehow, how does this work? I'm not sure, because the other part is gray zone. So maybe they don't want to admit that Lysivka has fallen to the Russians, but they draw in this way. And they have also taken the most of the forest south of Ukraine's. And the Russians also seems to have secured everything southwest of Dolenivka, including multiple fortifications. So this is the current situation over in this southern part of Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk front. It actually is also in the northernmost part of the Donetsk front at this moment. So the Ukrainians still have not acknowledged the loss of Halisnivka. They still map it in the way that like the most of this part is not under Russian control, which is not true, because Russians were already previously geolocated at the very southwestern part of Halisnivka. So, but we shall see how this goes. The Ukraine's now is under threat of Russian attacks from multiple directions right now. So I think Ukrainians were going to fall very soon. But the Ukrainians are, of course, now on the counter or on the defensive duty. They have already stopped retreating. So we're going to see more actions. But this kind of situation at Ukraine is really, really bad for the Ukrainians. But I don't think they can hold this town much longer. So anyway, I believe these are all the frontline changes report that I have right now. So thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. Check out the conclusions, which I talk about logistics. Boring topic, but very important. So check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next update.